Hello, and welcome back to This Week in Workforce, the podcast brought to you by Workforce Solutions Northeast Texas. My name is Bart Spivey, and as always, I'm joined by Jeff Clapp. Jeff, we've talked about previous episodes how one of our primary customers are local employers and businesses, which is something that our guests today know as well. We're happy to be joined by Amber Adams and Camille Powell with the Texarkana Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us.
Well, Amber and Camille, a lot of things with the first question we like to ask all of our guests is kind of how you got started with the organization you're with. And if you wouldn't mind, we'll kind of start with Amber. If you can tell us kind of how you got started and what your current job duties are.
Yeah, so it's funny, Camille and I were talking about this the other day because she works with students, and never in my life would I have thought of working with the Chamber of Commerce. In fact, almost 2 years ago, I had no clue what it was. Which is sad now because I love it so much. But I spent many of my years in grocery retail management, corporate training for years, and then I went into senior living sales, and that's what brought me to Texarkana. And I was here at Cornerstone in town is what people know it as, and, with the company for 5 years, but I was in my office one day and going through a chamber email blast, and there was this post for a sales position. I mean, technically that's what I am, even though it's Director of Partner Development. And there's so much more than just sales, but in short, it's sales. And I'm like, oh, that might be good. That might be fun. And, then I started Googling, what does a chamber do? What is chamber? And I had seen some events they had done, and I'm like, well, that might be worth it. And I didn't even think they'd hire me because I'm like, I'm not even from Texarkana. How am I supposed to sell it? Nobody knows me. And then lo and behold, I did. So here we are. And that's how that worked out for me. But yeah, so I'm Director of Partner Development. I over membership, oversee young professionals and ambassadors, as well as helping other team members that we have. Yep.
So mine's a little bit more couple-based. So I moved to Texarkana because my husband had accepted a job here. We were kind of moving around. I'm originally from Houston, so just like Amber, I am a transplant. And I was working for Workforce Solutions before I came over here, and I found this position. I had been, one of the things that I look at when we moved to Texarkana is everybody was so welcoming. And my husband is from here originally. Every time we met somebody that he grew up with or a family member that he knew, they were all so welcoming and so happy to meet me and get to know us as a couple. And one of the things that I'd always talked about is how can I give back to this community that gave so much to me? And after time being here, when the position that I have now opened, I had multiple people sending this to me and telling me this is a way that you can not only connect students and employers, but the community as well. So that's how I found the position. Amber was one of those people who sent the job position to me and was like, this is a way for you to get in with the community and really give back to the community. So that's how I found my position. I didn't know much about Chamber of Commerce as well. I'll double that. I did not know very much about Chamber of Commerce, but, learning and being engrossed into the chamber life it's been great, and I love it. I am the program manager for workforce development, and I've been having a lot of fun with it.
That's awesome. I know Jeff and I, on the first episode, we discussed how we got involved in workforce, and kind of the same thing. We didn't know anything about workforce until we started, didn't know what a chamber did, anything like that. Yeah. But, we work closely together, so a lot of partnerships there. The Chamber has a lot of programs for local employers. What is the best way an employer can connect with the Chamber? And then through that connection, how do they connect with other businesses in the area?
First and foremost, you got to join. I tell people all the time, and it's a true thing. It's like, what do you have to lose by joining the Chamber? You're going to get networking, awareness, referrals, resources, government advocacy. All these things bottled in one. So first, you got to join. And upon joining, I usually sit down with businesses, and it's just, what are your goals? What are your struggles? How many employees do you have? It's all these questions. And I think sometimes they're like, why is she asking so many questions? Well, there's reasons, because we've got different membership options, and that every year they could change for you depending on, what the economy is looking like, what business is looking like, things. So first you got to join. We talk about those options. Upon joining, the best way that businesses can get more involved in it, we always talk, it's kind of like a gym membership, which is, we hate that metaphor, but it is. I mean, you join a gym, but if you don't go, you're not going to see results. So you got to, come when you can to ribbon cuttings, business after hours, get on committees. We always need volunteers when we have events going on, golf tournaments. I mean, you name it. So volunteering, events, email blast. That's part of your membership. You'd be surprised that people don't utilize that tool. Our email blast goes out to 2,300 people. And it's a part of that membership, And pick up the phone and call us, too. We've had people call and go, hey, I've got an idea. I'd love to do this. And most of the time it works out. So, again, if they want to get more involved and they've got ideas, but first and foremost, you got to join. And then our goal is to always educate them because, they're running a business. We get it. They forget what's a part of their membership and all they can do with the chamber. So we've got no problem going, what do you have questions on? Let's gather 6 months later going, hey, do you remember that email blast? Hey, we've had this event. I haven't seen you there. What's going on? But you just got to start coming, and then literally doors will open from there.
Another one of the duties the chamber has is to advocate for area businesses on topics that could affect them. Can you tell us more about how y'all do that as well?
Yeah, so we have a couple of groups that work together. We have government affairs, business retention and expansion, manufacturing partnership, education partnerships, just ways that we can really listen to our members and then bring that voice to the proper entity that it needs to be brought to. So we work in conjunction with our community and just we're that person who listens, and then how can we make steps to hear that voice and help them. For example, we had a manufacturing week this past year, and one thing that was said during our manufacturing partnership was our manufacturers, our educators, our community, they weren't all in a line with one another. So how can we get everybody to be together? How can we get the cohesion? And Manufacturing Week is one thing that we had looked into. Our goal during Manufacturing Week was to bring the school districts and the employers together, bring the students to the employers, introduce them to the employers, and we ended up having a really good turnout, great feedback from not only the employers but also the school districts, the community itself. We really listened to our chamber members about what they wanted, and we brought it to fruition.
That's really awesome.
That and government advocacy, to exactly on that question, is people don't realize, there's all types of chambers all over the world. And by what I mean by that is there's some chambers that's one person operation, and then there's 50 employees. And so they range. And then you've got state chambers, regional chambers, and then very small. And we're regional, but every chamber, especially for, I guess, more of the larger ones, but us, because we encompass both sides of the state line, 7-ish surrounding counties, government advocacy, and it's huge, and it's one of those, I hope we never get that phone call, but it's happened. Part of that membership is we're like insurance in businesses' back pockets. That's what I tell them. When you join and some legislative comes down and it's affecting your business, whether it's small, like city-wise, or huge, we're lobbying at Capitol Hill. Not us. But we've got that government affairs committee. Right. They're going in March or April, getting on a bus and going and advocating for these businesses. So I tell them, we're here for you. Again, all it takes is a phone call, and it can be very minute to something really large, and I hope we never get that phone call, but it's the peace of mind. You run your business, we will take care of this, because you can't afford to do both. So that's really what Chamber and the foundation of Chamber is: government advocacy, economic development, and then all the benefits and perks that come with it.
Yeah, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, and that's true for our organization as well. You see the surface level stuff, but you don't always see
the fun stuff.
Right.
There's ribbon cutting and the scissors. Right. They're as tall as me, and it's so cool, and we love it. That is a huge part of it and component. But behind the scenes, really operating, and they're champions and they're protectors and supporters in a way.
Right. Good deal. So you mentioned being in Texarkana, and y'all are both transplants, but I think Jeff and I are from here, so we know The uniqueness of the area being on the border of Texas and Arkansas, and then how that makes the economy and the workforce unique. We both understand that. We both deal with those challenges, if you will. So what are some of the ways that the Chamber supports economic development efforts through workforce development?
Yeah, so the Chamber supports economic development entities in our region, such as Tex Americas. Our president and CEO, Dennis Washington, he's on the board of Tex Americas, so he's right in the nitty-gritty of it, right? We also support our Tech Ready and both cities of Texarkana when it comes to economic development and focusing more so on workforce development and business retention and expansion of our current businesses, and advocating for those businesses in town already. But that's really how we support, is we work in congruence with those companies.
And then the two, I mean, obviously we love them to be chamber members, but if there's a business that calls and says, I'm looking to expand, I want to cross state lines, I need a certain license, I need a resource, I mean, we're there to help them too. And we're going to talk about membership when they call and joining, but that's a way that we help economic development too, because people call from all over the U.S. because we're getting a spotlight. Like, that's the place to be. It's really growing. Should I live on the Texas or the Arkansas side? And again, we don't answer that. It's like, what do you want? What are you looking for? Why would you want to live? It's just we ask the questions to help them find their answers, basically. But I got a call the other day, a guy from Louisiana looking to expand his business here. And, and that's all a part of economic development. And we were just talking the other day, not to sidetrack, but, the Army depot, and the majority of them use our hospitals here. And then the people in the hospitals have, just the big bubble and how it all creates that we forget, like even here, this building, somebody owns this building. Well, then what does he do? And where do you get these lights? And these lights come from there, and how we all encompass and help within this community.
And I'll kind of go off of what she had said about, a company had called and wanting to come to Texarkana. And we do reach out to our economic development groups, Tex Americas, our Tech Ready, when it comes to looking for sites.
Yep.
But one of the things that site selectors look for is, do we have a talent pipeline? Do we have a current workforce that is ready to support this new business that's wanting to come in? And that's where the workforce development program comes into play. And right now we're working on an initiative. It's called the Work Ready Communities Initiative. And it is exactly that. It's a way that we can show site selectors that we do have a talent pipeline. We do have a current workforce, emerging workforce, transition workforce that is ready to take on these new positions that will be coming to Texarkana. So that's how we work at the chamber level, and especially in workforce development, bringing economic development together.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's a good point. There's a lot of, and this is another thing that the vast majority of people don't know about, don't see, but there's a lot of pieces that go into economic development, and workforce development is a huge piece of that, including the chamber and our organization and the school districts and the colleges. I mean, we all have to play a role to help support bringing in those new businesses and retaining. I think business retention is a big topic that we need to talk about. So I will say, just a brief pause here. You can find more information about the Texarkana Chamber and their programs at the very easy to remember website, texarkana.org. Go there. All of their events are on their calendar. Contact information, anything you need, you can find it there.
So one of the things you mentioned was about people coming into Texarkana as well. So are there things you do with like individual people that are coming in, or like you mentioned some of the businesses coming in, they're probably going to have spouses that might end up moving up here, or kids as well. Do you work with them to kind of help them?
We do. I mean, it could be as simple as a phone call and like, what do you want to do for that weekend? What are you interested in? And again, getting to know them. I can spit out all day long, there's the park and this and that, but if they hate nature and running, why would I tell them to go to all these amazing parks we have, right? But we have directives we give them. We mail them packets, poor Camille, she's kind of got suckered in that. I'm like, can you make a packet? I don't have time, thank you.
Hey, it's great too because I get to learn more about Texarkana when I'm looking through these packets as well.
And it's funny because some packets, I had a guy call the other day, all he's looking for is nature and RV and fishing. So we try to customize these things, we mail them. But if it's a family, you know, we'll put the dining packs and the tours and things. And when people come in, maybe they're only there for 30 minutes, like here, go eat downtown or go to the Perot to tour. And so that's how we help individually. When people transplant here, we really try to connect them in with young professionals. You can be 21 and up. There's no cap on the age, but that's enticing them to get on a personal level instead of just work and really make connections and hoping that they'll stay when they come. And then recently, one of our larger investors with the chamber, Graphic Packaging, we've talked about with their interns or their new employees doing a summer tour with them. And, you know, we joke and we'll get a bus and get them all on there and drive them around town and let them get acclimated. And I mean, and I know it sounds silly, like to your left you've got Arkansas, and to your right you got Texas, and that's the courthouse. But that helps because someone did that for me when I came here, and then taking them to, you know, the other side of town, and just so they get acclimated and aware, and like even this building, they'll remember that at some point when they come around town. And so we've talked about more personal touches and how businesses can help us. So that's something that it's becoming a need because people are looking to move here. And you know, and I'm sure y'all hear it, there's nothing to do in town. Yes, there is. What do you want to do?
Just have to find it
You have
sometimes.
to find it, and it's there, you know, and getting them plugged in. But those are some ways that we do that. And it's always fun. And I hear her, and I always joke. I had a guy yesterday, I'm looking to move there. Can you send me something? And sent him some information. I was like, I hope you come. Okay, bye. And like hung off, and he laughed. But we truly hope that they choose to move here, and we hope that maybe we were the determining factor, like that nice person on the phone, like she said, is everybody was so nice, like that's where I want to go.
Right.
A lot of times when my family has gone on vacation, we've gone to the chamber first
Yes.
to see, to kind of see some things that are available. Because a lot of times you can find, like you said, the stuff that you can do there.
Yeah,
and
and
it's
the mom
neat.
and pop stores too. I mean,
Right.
sure you can Google and the 5 stars are going to pop up, but the true like secrets of the town, go to the chamber first. And I learned I never knew that till I started working at the chamber myself. And anytime I'm in a new town, I'm like, where's the Chamber of Commerce? Because if I'm only here for 45 minutes, they can tell me where to go.
As Amber says, you can find the hidden gems.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So if I'm an employer, a business, and I'm already a member of the chamber, but maybe I go to the annual celebration, maybe I go to a few ribbon cuttings, but I want to be more involved. What are some ways that businesses can be more involved in chamber efforts?
Gotcha. Obviously, we champion for businesses, but we would love businesses to champion for us. Referrals are awesome, and we see that a lot. We would love more. We're almost at 800 members, but I always joke, if Camille's Cookies joined and she's really loving it, I would love for her to turn to her neighbor and go, why are you not a part of it?
Right.
Like, look what it's done for me. I know we'll probably talk about it, but we recently finished our TRC campaign, which is Total Resource Campaign, Book of Business. And one way to get involved, it's a sponsorship, but it's now narrowing it down as a business to go, I really want to focus on engaging and I'm going to do the golf tournament, or I really need marketing efforts, so I'm going to sponsor this email blast. So it really caters more to what are your goals, what are your needs, and where do you really want to put your dollars to. And that's another way that we're going to see come fall that they can get involved more, because now they get to kind of pick and choose what's best for their business than just a blanket membership, if that makes sense.
Right.
But yeah, it's the advocating and that turning it back, going, man, those people at Chamber are awesome. You need to join them. I'm a part of them. Like, I keep joking, my goal would be in our directory is what I call the blue block. And I would love, so anybody listening, it's a challenge for you, like Nash Industrial Park or downtown or a strip of businesses somewhere that if every single person's a member, they're the first blue block in town. And really highlighting that because they get it and they've done it together and they join forces, if that makes sense. But that would be what I could say, that to really get involved is tell people, encourage them. You've got nothing to lose,
When you touched on that campaign that we were going to talk about too, do you want to talk more about it, or?
I mean, it's really simple, and to that sense, it's the first year we've done it. It was a lot of learning, a real hard curveball for us, but it's something new. We love that it's given us a plan for 2023. Most importantly, it's truly letting businesses pick what they want to do, and like I said, where their dollars go. And so we're excited for what the fall is going to look like for 2024. And that's pretty much what it was. It was a book of business rolled out saying, hey, Camille's Cookies, this is what the year looks like. Where would you like to invest? Where do you want more awareness with that sponsorship? And we plan to do it for several years to come, and we hope next year is even better than what it was this year.
Awesome. So what are some of the events or initiatives the Chamber has that are coming up?
Go. Okay.
So I feel like I'm talking too much. I'm like, go ahead.
My headphones keep falling off of my head. So one of the initiatives I had previously mentioned briefly was our Work Ready Community Initiative. And really what that entails is bringing a way for employers to measure the job readiness for a candidate, for a job seeker. You know, how ready are they to go into the workforce? And this can be anybody goes in and takes this test. It's called the National Career Readiness Certification. It's made up of 3 different assessments. One is in graphic literacy, one is in workplace documents, and one is in applied math. So taking skills, problem-solving skills that you don't realize that you're learning on a day-to-day basis and taking that from education to the workforce. Can you look at this room we're in and tell me how many gallons of paint it'll take to paint this entire room, all 4 walls? Can you look at a quarterly report? Can you look at a spreadsheet and be able to read it, comprehend it, and answer any questions or give a presentation about it? So really, it's a way for businesses to look at the job seeker and determine how ready they are to go into the workforce. So that's one thing that I'm working on. That's an initiative that I'm working on, because at the end of the day, it's also a way for us to show site selectors, here we go. We do have a talent pipeline. Look how ready they are to enter the workforce. Look how much development they have on before they even go into working for your company and going into your employee development classes.
I will say, a few days ago, I was contacted by one of our economic development partners, and to show the importance of this work-ready community, we had an employer prospect looking at the area, and they have a long list of questions about the area. And one of them was, is your community a work-ready, ACT work-ready community? So I thought that was pretty neat that we get to check that box to let them know we are making these efforts. And that's something important to employers, not only new employers, but existing employers.
And I will say for the employers that are listening, to be a supporting employer, all we're asking and all we're looking for is that you recognize that this is a valid credential. If you have, it's a stackable credential that any job seeker can obtain. And there's a online platform that you can go onto on ACT's website, and you can also validate that credential, and you can see exactly where they placed on each of the assessments and what their overall medaling is. So for employers with the Work Ready community, we are looking for supporting employers, and that's basically just stating that, yes, I recognize this credential. Yes, I recognize that this is a valid test. It's a rigorous test. And I would like to put my name on that because we want to be a work-ready community.
Right.
And we're doing for both Bowie and Miller County. So we get 2 sides of it.
Regional, baby.
Yes.
The other event is we do have our annual celebration coming up in January 27th. We're talking on themes, so I'm not going to give it away. But it's our biggest event of the year. It's last year we almost had 500 attendees. So if you're new or you're listening or you've never been, that's the best way to come. I mean, it may be overwhelming because so many people are there, but I mean, talk about a way to start the new year.
Right.
And usually what we do is we celebrate the past year. So we're looking back, there's awards that are given out, but it's the perfect place to be to really start engaging and networking and learning. And then also to learn what happened in the past year, because we reflect back and we're like, wow, all that happened. But annual celebration, and then of course ribbon cuttings and things we'll pick back up that you can find on Facebook or the email blast.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to thank both of you for being here. This was a lot of really good information. As we mentioned earlier, you can find the contact information for the chamber, their events calendar, things of that nature on their website at texarkana.org. And I'll just wrap up today by saying thank you those who are listening. You can find This Week in Workforce on your favorite podcast platform. We also have the video version available on YouTube. And you can find those links as well as other information about Workforce Services at our website, which is netxworkforce.org. And we'll talk to you next time.